I want to talk about the effect of the Industrial Revolution and scientific revolutions on the ethics and values in Western secular society. I mostly want to ask about the two Christian worlds of East and West in connection with the technological or modern society and those effects, specifically in the context of secularization and modernization in the Western market or individualist-driven models, as opposed to the Eastern Christian world, which went through a type of socialism as their way of experiencing secularization. It seems that a materialist view is rooted in the scientific and industrial revolutions. The scientific revolution was used to develop technological capacity and was put towards the production of goods and services. This changed the material foundations of society, and with them so too were changed the ethical and moral system. In the West, in modernity and post-modernity, the educated view is premised on certain assumptions. These are almost the same as in the old socialist bloc, are they not? Among these are that first there was religion, and evolving from this later was a secular society. Religion is what we start with, and it either began or soon became a tool for oppression. That hypocrisy is inherent in this religious system. We are taught that as society progresses and develops, that it becomes liberated from the tethers or the yoke of religion, and that the coming of age of man comes with the dispensing of religion and other superstitions to the dustbin of history. At one time, both East and West Christian worlds came to the view that because religion is based in mysticism and ignorance, and that because societies change and everything is changing, then so too values and morals change as society changes. But Eastern Christianity under socialism was not attacked by hyperconsumerism. This seems to distinguish it. It seems that there was a secular shell within which religious ethics and norms continue to survive, but couched in other words and ideas. I would like very much for you to help me explore these concepts as they exist or in the correct framing in relation to religious or Islamic knowledge.
Great.
Western civilization should not be studied from only one perspective and cannot be understood if you use only this perspective of its relationship with religion. You have to get the big picture, and when you get the big picture, you will then be able to better understand the little one, the part, which is the relationship with religion. It cannot be by accident that all of these things have happened in only one part of the world, Europe of the West. Europe of the West is a breakaway faction from the Christian church in Constantinople. They broke away and they went to Rome, and then that broke away and the Protestant movement emerged and so on. So the original breakup is located there. And after the breakup, this part of Christianity underwent monumental change, which was not experienced by the other part of Christianity. The process of secularization of society, and that secularization of the society, it is which has ultimately led to the essentially godless society that we now have. This side of Christianity gives the external form of religion, but internally it's an empty shell. And once you have only the external form of religion, you don't have religion anymore. Religion which does not reside in the heart is not religion. It's potentially religion. So the process of secularization of society led to this essentially godless society. Secularization also led to an essentially decadent society, because values are, in order for them to be recognized morally as values, there must be values which are universal and must be unchanging, eternal, like honesty, like chastity. They must be universal in nature and eternal, not subject to change. When you secularize the society, the moral values had to give way, and secular values replaced them, which meant that the society will now make its own values. Like, for example, we don't mind, you can break anybody else's law, just don't break ours. Bring any amount of money you want and bring it in a Swiss bank, we'll take it. It could be as bloodstained as ever, it doesn't matter to us. But if we have rules, don't break our rules. This is a concept of morality, of values, which is absolutely foreign to the religious way of life. But yes, this is Switzerland. This is Switzerland. Secular values cannot be universalized. They are particular, they belong to one people. And they cannot be eternal because society is constantly changing. In fact, it's not just changing, it's collapsing. And as the societies collapse, they unravel, the values constantly change. So you end up with a society with ever-changing values, and what you consider to be right is right for you.
Thank you. This really helps to connect the origins of secular society to its place in history and the deviations of the Church and the development of Protestantism out of Catholicism and the relationship of that to political economy. I can see, of course, now better how it's situated, the relationship between changing versus unchanging values, between relativistic and universal, and what the relationship to secularization was in that. But I would like, if you could, to explore for us in a little more detail the connection between this and to industrialization and modernization and the scientific revolution. Specifically, what is the relationship between how the West based its definition of knowledge as science, and in particular in having an epistemic view of scientific knowledge as empirical, based in the five senses and limiting cognition to a reflection of these sense perceptions. How can we compare this to a religious view? Eastern Christianity in the socialist bloc survived. It was exposed to the scientific and industrial revolution and mirrored it. In the Eastern Christian world, was knowledge itself secularized? In the West, things went differently. Why did this happen?
Society in this part of the Christian world, the Western side, had its most telling impact in the secularization of knowledge. Then came political secularization and secularization of the economy and secularization of these things, but secularization of knowledge. And the secularization of knowledge could not have been achieved if you didn't have a scientific and technological revolution on which you can piggyback. The scientific and technological revolution gave to the world what is known as the scientific method. And the scientific method is woefully deceptive and inadequate. the way it is presented. Very few can recognize it. The scientific method led us to the conclusion that the only valid knowledge is knowledge which comes from external observation and inquiry and experimentation. Things that can be perception and rationality. And if something resided beyond human observation, it could never be known. Therefore, it could never qualify as knowledge once it is beyond human observation. And from there, through a process of deception, if it can never be known, it does not exist. See? So, this material universe is a universe that can be observed, and hence it exists. Whatever lies beyond material universe, which it cannot be observed, cannot be admitted into the world of knowledge. And so a world existing beyond this world is a world we can never know. And then came the last piece, a world that does not exist. And so came from secularism the passage to materialism. Materialism is not attachment to material things. Materialism is the philosophical belief that there is no reality beyond material reality. That's materialism. And if there is no reality beyond material reality, then there is no place for religion, and hence automatically, eventually, you discard religion the way you discard old clothes and you become atheist. This is the passage that took place in this part of the Christian world. And so today they have the marriage of a man with another man, and you get a marriage certificate, and many Christian churches are endorsing it. Yeah. The other part of the Christian world, it was never a part of the scientific and technological revolution. The other part of the Christian world never suffered from this secularization of knowledge. And so the other part of the Christian world never lost the spiritual heart of the religious way of life. So long as you continue to believe in and hold on to the spiritual heart of the religious way of life, you cannot lose values. You might make a mistake, but you'll accept that you made a mistake. But honesty is still honesty, despite you. This time, over here, they change the value, but over there it remains. See? So that is what has happened in the Christian world. Why and how did this mysterious change take place? In stages. First stage is to break away from the mother church. Second stage, the mysterious scientific and technological revolution, the secularization of knowledge, and all of these things. Who is responsible for this? And why has it happened?
Antichrist.
Before we go to eschatology, who is responsible for this and why did it happen? You can sometime catch a thief by footprints and fingerprints. Yeah. Footprints and the keys out there. Yeah. Footprints and fingerprints. Footprints and fingerprints. So to catch this thief, you can see his footprints. That this part of the Christian world now exonerates the Jews from the crucifixion. They are not to be blamed. Vatican. This part of the Christian world now has an obsession with the Holy Land. This part of the Christian world launches something called the Crusades. And when they launch their crusades, it's not Christian crusades at all, because they're attacking their own Christian brothers. Yeah. This part of the Christian world eventually liberates Jerusalem and the Holy Land. This part of the Christian world eventually establishes a state of Israel, recognize it. This part of the Christian world defends that state of Israel. This part of the Christian world arms that state of Israel until it becomes a superpower. This part of the Christian world is prepared to wage world war, nuclear war, to self-destruct for Israel. All of these things could not be happening by accident. No. If these things are happening by accident, then a cow can jump over the moon. Yeah.